So I am starting on a journey today, and this is something I've been wanting to do for about 6 or more months, and it is starting today. I had a hysterectomy 3 years ago. Everything was removed, uterus, cervix, ovaries, everything. So I have zero hormones. I was put into surgical menopause. And once I recovered from my hysterectomy, my doctor, at my request, did give me an estrogen patch. And that's been fine. That stopped the hot flashes. But since then, and the longer it's been since my hysterectomy, I just feel like my hormones are not right. I'm not getting what I'm needing. No doctor has ever tested my hormone levels, so I'm taking matters into my own hands. I have an appointment in just an hour with a hormone specialist here in my hometown, a menopause specialist. I'm going to have all the lab work done. I'm going to have all my hormones tested, and this is going to take me down the road. This is going to be a journey to getting my hormones where I feel like they should be. I'm branching out and I'm excited to see what I learn and where it takes me. So I'm going to take you along with me on this journey because I have so many friends and I know so many women and so many of you that I talk to on YouTube don't take hormone replacement therapy, don't know it's available, don't know what your options are, don't know what's out there for you, or you're in the exact same boat that I am. So I'm going to document my experience, my journey, and let's just take it together. I feel like I'm at the point in my life I've got to take matters in my own hands. And this is how I'm doing it. And I'm so excited to see what I find out. Well, here I am, 4 days later. I have all the hormones. So I know when I started this video, that was not a very comprehensive explanation of what's going on. So I wanted to sit down now that I have been on every hormone in all these different forms and tell you why I saw a functional medicine doctor, a hormone specialist, a menopause specialist, what all we talked about, why she prescribed all these things for me, and how I'm feeling now that I've been taking them. You all know, if you've been around on my channel for at least 3 years, that I had a hysterectomy almost exactly 3 years ago. I had my uterus, my cervix, my fallopian tubes, and my ovaries removed. And I documented every bit of that on my channel. My surgery prep, the surgery itself, my recovery, and how I was feeling and recovering 3 weeks after, 3 months after, 6 months, a year. I answered all of your questions. And I gotta tell you, this series on my channel is one of my most watched series of all time. I've been on YouTube for 7 years, and these videos combined have millions of views. Well, now it's 3 years later, and I'm on a different journey. During my hysterectomy, my ovaries were removed, so I was put into surgical menopause. I didn't really understand what all that meant and what it was going to mean to me at the time that I had my hysterectomy, but I understand it now. And boy, let me tell you, do I understand it. So I am on a journey to get all of this figured out, to get my hormones back in balance, to replace the hormones that my body can no longer make for itself. I want to explain to you why I feel like I need the hormones replaced, the doctors that I'm seeing to do all the lab work, to tell me what I need, to do the trial and error with me, to prescribe the hormones, how I'm taking the hormones, what everything is costing, exactly how I'm feeling so far on all of these hormones, and just a bunch more information about this whole entire thing. So if you are a woman that is in menopause or even perimenopause, you don't have to have had a hysterectomy for this video to be helpful. Or I don't think that you do. Any woman who is losing her hormones because she's headed into menopause, or you are in menopause, you're losing your estrogen, your progesterone, and your testosterone. Let's just talk about all of those things. I want to tell you what I'm doing. I want to share my journey with you because I know my hysterectomy videos were so helpful to so many women, and even doctors are referring their hysterectomy patients to my videos. They are telling them to watch my videos to get a full understanding of what is going to happen, what could happen, what should happen, all of those things, which I think is fantastic. But now we need to talk about what happened afterward. We need to talk about the hormones. So when I had my hysterectomy 3 years ago, I guess I was very naive. I assumed that my doctors, and yes, there are several of them, would be looking out for my best interest, my well-being. Now that time has passed, I realize that those doctors are only concerned about their one specific job. My hysterectomy surgeon did the hysterectomy. My regular doctor is just concerned about, are you feeling good? Do your labs look good? Great. See you next year. That's it, honestly. So I have had to take matters into my own hands. And why am I doing that? As the years have gone on since I was put into surgical menopause, I realized that a lot of things are changing in my body and continue to change. I feel great. I'm a go-getter. You all know I am normally a positive person and have tons of energy. But after recovering from my hysterectomy, I just felt like I was here. I was back to a baseline. I was fine, like nothing was wrong, but I was not that energetic, super excited, where are all my emotions person. I was just here. So I'm not talking about recovering from the surgery because that went, you all know how that went. You can watch all the videos and see that. I'm just talking about once I was recovered, what was I left with? And I was left with just a baseline. I noticed over time, over years, that my skin and my hair and my fingernails lost their oomph. They lost their vibrancy. I don't have that glow about me that I used to have before the surgery. I can actually, because I'm a YouTuber and I have all these videos and photos of me, I can look back at videos that were taken of me literally 1 week before my hysterectomy and look at me now and compare them to me now, and I can just see I've lost it. I've lost it. And I don't know how to put it into words. I just know that I've lost it. And I'm taking the vitamins, I'm taking the supplements, I'm doing all the things. None of that has changed. I still do intermittent fasting. Those things have remained the same. But what is different is I don't have any hormones. So I started doing my own research because I realized that nobody is looking out for me. I have to take care of me. I have to look out for me. I have to get informed, I have to get educated, I have to do my research, and then I have to decide how I'm going to do something about it. And that's exactly what I did. So I get a lot of my information from social media. I watch doctors, I watch gynecologists, I watch functional medicine doctors, menopause specialists. I listen to all of these people, men and women, talking about hormones, and more hormones. So basically your ovaries make estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. I have 0 because my ovaries were removed. So if you did not have a hysterectomy, your ovaries are gonna like sputter out, right? And then you go in menopause and there you are. So we're kind of in the same situation. I did a lot of talking to women my age, girlfriends, just random people that I would meet that I struck up a conversation with. I would just always somehow turn it around and say, hey, are you in menopause? Hey, are you taking hormone replacement therapy? What are you taking? How is that working out for you? So I have talked to so many women, and you know what? Their answers varied so greatly. I truly am still shocked. I've met women and talked to women who are doing nothing. They are just dealing with the night sweats and the mood swings and the low libido and their hair falling out. Like, I have talked to those women. I've also talked to women that are taking the most common estrogen, right? And then I've talked to women that are like, whoa, I told my doctor, give me everything. Whatever my body is not making, I want it back. So I have a friend who is a pharmacist, and I talked to him. He gave me some really great information from like the pharmaceutical side, from the research, the scientific side about hormones, and the methods that he suggested I take those hormones in. And we're going to get into all the hormones and actually what I'm taking. I'm going to actually show you the bottles and explain. But I got a lot of information from him. I also did some research about functional medicine doctors, menopause specialists, hormone replacement therapy specialists. They can fall under lots of names. There are, and I live in a really small town, so there are like maybe 5 of them here where I live. And further research into those doctors or clinics or practices, a lot of them fell under the authority of a chiropractor. That was who ran the office. I wasn't super comfortable with that, so I actually found a medical doctor, a doctor with 2 nurse practitioners that have all of the training and know all of the things. They have a lab in their medical facility, and that is where I made an appointment. So it's now been almost a week since my meeting with the hormone replacement therapy specialist, functional medicine specialist, and I went to her with a list of things that I wanted to discuss. I knew that this appointment was an hour and 15 minutes, and that was one of the reasons I chose to go to this clinic. It wasn't a 15-minute consultation, it was an hour and 15 minutes, and truth be told, I was there for an hour and a half. So I don't really want to get into things that are specific to me, like all of the things, other than to say I had a list ready, and I'll just kind of give you an overview. I have been feeling arthritis symptoms in my thumbs and in 2 of my toes, like the big toe and the toe next to it. I have this ongoing belly fat, just this ring of belly fat. Doesn't matter what I do, it is not budging. I wanted to talk about my LDL cholesterol. Since my hysterectomy, that number shot through the roof. It was 219. I've never had an issue with my cholesterol. My regular doctor has been checking it every time I see her. Since my surgery, boom, and she put me on a very low dose of a statin. All of my other cholesterol numbers are perfectly normal, but the LDL, super high. I wanted to talk about my hair, my nails, my skin, the fact that, like I told you all a minute ago, I'm just like baseline. Here I am. I'm missing the woohoo of life, right? And I wanted to talk about libido. And an hour and a half later, I came out of there very pleased, very excited, looking so much forward to what replacement of these hormones could do for me. So let me show you what I'm now taking, and I'm going to explain to you the cost of everything as well, because this is a really kind of unknown factor, and it can be a really big factor. I am on the estradiol patch, a fairly, kind of low dose, 0.05. And this is a patch that I put on my hip, and I change it twice a week. I started this estradiol patch 3 weeks after my hysterectomy. I did a video about this, y'all. I had a literal meltdown because my night sweats were so horrible. I had to call my surgeon and beg to get this estrogen patch. This was kind of what tipped me off to the fact that somebody should have told me things were going to be this bad. Somebody should have told me you're going to need estrogen. Somebody should have told me what the future was going to look like, and nobody did. This was the first inkling of, I think I've got to start looking out for myself. But since I got the estrogen patch 3 years ago, night sweats, hot flashes completely stopped. I stick this on my hip. I change it out twice a week. It just kind of is what it is. Otherwise, any other things that the estrogen patch does, I'm sure it's doing things. I know estrogen plays a part in brain function and bone health and belly fat and all that. Those are not things I can see. Those are not things I can feel, other than the belly fat is definitely here. It is accumulating more and more. I just know that the hot flashes and the night sweats instantly stopped, literally within 1 day as soon as I started the estrogen patch. About 2 months ago, I started using a vaginal estradiol cream. This is a 0.01%. This is super common. Again, I had to call my doctor and say, I want a prescription for this. Nobody mentioned it to me. Nobody offered it to me. Nobody told me that I was going to need this. So after you're in menopause, all of your lady parts start to shrivel and shrink and get dry. It's a fact. I didn't know it was a fact, but it is truly a fact. There's lots of things that happen when you are missing estrogen. And remember, I had 0 estrogen. So I called my doctor. I said, I want this. It comes in a tube. You slather it on your vulva and your clitoris and all those things. You do put some internally. Just get on social media and you will see hundreds of women talking about vaginal estrogen cream. I've only been on it 2 months. Do I see a difference or do I feel a difference? Yes, I think that I do. What I learned though from meeting with my functional medicine doctor, there's no way to measure this, right? So you're just kind of told, put it on your finger. So I was taking this, and from the first little crease down, I was putting some, and that's what I would put internally. And then I was doing about half of that and rubbing it on the outside on the labia. So when I was telling my functional medicine doctor that, she said, oh no, you basically need double. I need all the way down to this knuckle and down internally, and half of that. So this knuckle and down that goes on the labia and the clitoris. So I just started doing the increased amount almost a week ago, and I definitely can say things feel much better. But this is something you have to do basically almost every other night. This is kind of messy. You do it at bedtime. I get in bed and I'm like, but it absorbs in and it's totally fine. It's just a thing, to be honest, to have to use this cream every night. But again, it is what it is. So one of my main things I wanted to talk to my new doctor about was progesterone. So scientifically, everybody says if you don't have a uterus, you don't need progesterone. It is there to protect the uterus in menopause. Well, I don't have a uterus, so nobody gave me progesterone. But there are studies out now that say progesterone does so many more things than only protect your uterus. It is a huge player in your sleep and in your mood and in the stability of your mood. Well, she asked me if I was depressed. Was I sad? Was I energetic? Like, how was I feeling? And I said, I'm actually feeling fine. I'm just, when we had that baseline discussion, do I sleep good? I actually sleep really well. She said, let's try the progesterone. It's not going to hurt you to take it. If you try it and you don't like the way it makes you feel, you can always stop taking it, but it's not going to hurt you to try. So she prescribed 100 milligrams of progesterone, and it is a little white kind of capsule-y type tablet, and you take it at bedtime. So before I tell you what the progesterone has done for me in 4 days, let me first tell you that I'm recovering for an upper respiratory congestion, cold, cough, all the things. So I got a steroid shot. I have been on antibiotics. And on top of that, it is daylight savings time. So 2 days after I started taking this is when we sprung our clocks forward. So it is much darker in the morning and we have more daylight in the evenings, just because any of those things could have come into play in what the progesterone made me feel. I'm a pretty good sleeper, or so I thought. But that being said, when I'm asleep, if I roll over and I take my pillow with me, yes, I sort of wake up. A lot of nights I'll kind of come to and think, well, I might as well get up and pee, I'm awake. So I do that. If my husband moves or snores or he gets up to pee, it wakes me up, right? But I always, as soon as the sun starts to come up in a lot of mornings before, I just normally wake up myself. I get out of bed happy. I'm like, woohoo, let's go. So that is my normal. I started taking the progesterone, and oh my gosh, when I go to bed at night, I am down. Like, I am put into a coma. I am in such a deep sleep. I've taken this the past 4 nights, and for 4 nights in a row, I don't remember turning over. I have not got up to pee. My husband is also sick like me, broke out in like a huge coughing fit in the middle of the night, I vaguely heard him coughing. Like this progesterone is putting me down hard. Now that's not a bad thing, but when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, whoa, just a little bit foggy. I am sound asleep when my husband's alarm clock goes off. I am not up before him. Part of that could be because the time change. Part of it could be because of the progesterone. I don't know, but I'm just telling you, I am sound asleep when that alarm clock goes off. So I get up, come in here and have my coffee, and for like an hour, I've been just kind of groggy, like a little bit hung over feeling, like the progesterone is hanging on. Well, this is a once a day tablet. Only time is going to tell whether it was the time change, whether it's the progesterone. It is too early to tell. I really just don't know. But I do know that I think the progesterone is putting me into a very deep sleep. And I kind of like it. I thought I was sleeping really good before, but woo-wee, I am sleeping like a champ right now. So I'm going to continue staying on the 100 milligrams of progesterone until my next meeting with my doctor, which, by the way, is 2.5 months away. If I feel like this is just a little bit too much, I may ask her if I can back off and do 50 milligrams. I'm just going to let this play out for the next 2 months or so and then revisit it then. But for now, I'm sleeping really good. So at my meeting with my doctor, I failed to tell you all of this. We did lab work. I had all of my hormones tested, which none of my other doctors have ever tested my hormones. I have no idea where my hormone levels are. And that's important because you gotta have a baseline. Is my estrogen patch actually soaking in? Is it actually working? Am I absorbing all of the hormones? Who knows? Because the doctors only care about the symptoms. Do you have night sweats? I say no, and they say, great, you're all good. That has been the extent of it. That was their test. I've never had blood work to actually see what my levels were. But the functional medicine doctor did all of the lab work. I do not have the results. So she did the lab work when I was in her office so that there is a baseline. She prescribed the hormones. I'm going to take the hormones and then in 2.5 months, go back and have labs done again and then meet with her so we can compare my baseline hormones compared to 3 months later hormones, and we're going to combine those with how I'm feeling and do I have any symptoms, do I have any side effects, and then tweak it from there. So my insurance and most insurances are not going to pay for a lot of this. My insurance did not pay for the consultation visit, which was about $300. I did have to pay that out of pocket. That was that 1.5-hour consultation. And it will not pay for any of my follow-up consultations, which I will see her after this initial 3-month one. I will see her every 6 months. Those visits are going to run $100. I'm paying those out of pocket. It's my understanding that all of the lab work, which I will have after this initial one every 6 months, my insurance will cover the lab work. So we've only talked about 2 of the hormones. We still have to talk about testosterone. But let me tell you the cost. I get my estrogen patch through my mail order pharmacy. I pay, I don't know exactly what it is. It comes out to be about $10, $12 a month for the estrogen patch. The vaginal estrogen cream, I honestly don't remember what it was. It was like $6. It was nothing. The month prescription of progesterone was $10. And then we get to testosterone. So many people just think testosterone is only a man's hormone, and that's so not true. Women have testosterone. Our ovaries and our adrenal glands make testosterone, but women have about 1/10 of testosterone compared to what a man has. Testosterone does so many things, and I'm not going to pretend to be a doctor here. I just know what I know from my research and talking to my doctors. You all can do the same research, but testosterone is hugely important for brain function, for libido, and all kinds of things in your body. I had no testosterone. And that was one of the main reasons I went to the hormone specialist is I wanted testosterone. Testosterone has gotten a really bad rap. It honestly has. And if you abuse it and if you take a dose that is too high for you, you're going to have some negative side effects. So in talking with my doctor, we're being very careful that I take a low dose, only the dose that I need to get the results that I'm looking for. So testosterone can bring back the brightness, the vibrancy, the energy, the mood, like all of the things. It can take your libido from to okay, now we're getting somewhere. Like it can just do so many things, and that is what I am most excited about. Testosterone can come in several different forms. You can get a cream or gel that you rub on the inside of your leg or on the back of your thigh. You can get it in a pellet that's injected that lasts 3 months. You can also do injections, which you have to go and get like every 1 or 2 weeks. And there's a troche that you put under your tongue and it dissolves. Every form of getting testosterone has a positive and a negative. So my doctor kind of gave me my options, what she thought were the 2 best forms for me. And having also talked to my pharmacist friend, I got his perspective on what the best forms would be for me as well. So I chose a troche. So a troche is a little kind of think of it like a greasy gel type thing. It is almost like a clear little ball and it stays in my refrigerator. Every morning I put one underneath my tongue and it takes it about 12 minutes to fully dissolve. So because it's under my tongue, I'm not swallowing it, I'm not chewing it, I just let it dissolve and it gets directly and immediately into my bloodstream. So the testosterone troches taste horrible. My pharmacist did put a little bit of mint in them, but they are still, it's like sucking on a Tylenol tablet, honestly. It's pretty bad. It does take 12 minutes to fully dissolve, and then I cannot eat or drink anything for 30 minutes after it has been dissolved. So it's kind of a process. I don't know that I'm going to stick with the troche. I may try the gel that I rub on the back of my leg. I don't know, but I'm going to, just like the progesterone, I'm going to stick this out for the next 3 months and then reevaluate at that point. Honestly, I took my 4th testosterone troche this morning. I don't feel any different. I feel absolutely nothing. But my doctor did tell me that it would take 2 to 3 weeks for all of these hormones to kind of accumulate in my system before I started to notice anything. And that's where I am. Honestly, I feel no different. I feel absolutely nothing. Because testosterone is compounded for me, it is not covered by my insurance. And it costs $65 for a monthly supply of testosterone. So all in, if you add all that stuff up, you know, I'm spending about $85 a month on hormones, but it is so worth it to me. After a month or 2, when I go back in for my testing and meet with the doctor and we get all of this leveled out, I'm hoping to be back where I was before I had my hysterectomy. So only time will tell, but I just wanted to keep you all posted because for me, if I get on social media, if I turn on the television, the news, everybody is talking about hormones. Everybody is talking about hormones. And it could be just my social media feeds because that's what I'm interested in. It's just feeding me that. But I swear it is literally everywhere. So I feel like if you're listening to my story and any of what I'm saying rings true with you, you can do your research as well and talk to your doctor. Find a menopause specialist in your town. It's the early stages, y'all. This is honestly nothing super exciting to report, but I wanted to start this conversation. I wanted you to be with me on my journey because I feel like this is so super important. And I want to say thank you to all the women that shared their stories with me, that answered all of my questions, that led me to actually doing it, finding somebody who was willing to help me. And that's where I am. So I'll keep you posted on all things hormones, and I'll see you in another video.